In this video, we will discuss the two major types of data that you can collect in market research, quantitative and qualitative. Both can be valuable for different purposes. Before we look in more detail at both of these different types of data, let's first introduce the video's main example. This is Ansh Patel. Having recently completed their degree in performing arts, Ansh and two of his best friends have opened a horror-themed escape room in a busy tourist area of London, named You'll Never Escape. You'll Never Escape is a unique experience where customers star in and play out their own horror movie experience. In the scenario, customers are kidnapped and taken prisoner. They are then locked in a room. They will need to work together under pressure to figure out how to free themselves and escape. Ansh and the other owners are always fully dressed in their horror attire and play a key role in the experience, relying on their skills that they have learned in their performing arts course to make the experience as realistic as possible. To ensure the success of the new venture, it will be extremely important for Ansh and his partners to conduct the necessary market research. To all the teachers out there, show all of these videos without any ads and gain access to our growing library of over 500 teaching worksheets. Why not visit bizwizard.co.uk to find out more? The first type of market research we could consider is quantitative research. Think quantity. What quantity of chocolate would you like? Quantitative sounds like quantity and therefore is all about numbers. It uses mathematical analysis and data to shed light on important statistics about your business and the market that you operate in. This type of data is gathered using things such as multiple choice questionnaires and surveys. This kind of data will be extremely important to You'll Never Escape in working out the needs of their customers. For example, they could use quantitative research to ask the following questions. Is there a market for our service? Are customers aware our service even exists? How many people may be interested in a unique horror experience such as this? What type of people are these potential customers? Other businesses may ask different questions, such as what are our customers' buying habits? Or how long are visitors staying on our website? And from which page are they leaving or spending the most time on? Now you may be thinking the answers to many of these questions are not numbers, but by using a rating scale, businesses are able to collect quantitative data from these questions. A common example of a rating scale is what's known as the Likert scale, which is named after its inventor, psychologist René Likert. This type of scale is usually presented with a statement or a set of statements, and the person being questioned is asked to rate how much they agree or disagree. An example of a Likert scale might be strongly agree, undecided, disagree, and strongly disagree. As quantitative research is mathematically based, Ansh and his partners will be able to use the data to make predictions on how best to achieve success. There are of course advantages and disadvantages to conducting quantitative research. Let's first consider the advantages. Ansh and his partners will be able to easily interpret the results of quantitative data. They can display them using charts and graphs and make them easy to digest for others, such as the bank or investors. Ansh can use the quantitative data to spot trends and patterns. For example, they may identify through their market research that almost every university student surveyed responds positively to the idea of a horror experience. Here, Ansh has spotted a trend, and the team will be able to focus their efforts on this group of customers moving forward. The final advantage we will consider is that quantitative data can be easily compared to other quantitative data. For example, when looking at sales figures, which are quantitative, they can be compared to the previous year's figures and an analysis of the two can be done. Or when it comes to website traffic, one day or month's visitors can be compared to other historical data on the visitor's site. Of course, there are a few disadvantages to conducting quantitative research. For example, quantitative research tends to only focus on the data. It does not look at why. If Anch and his team realised from analysing the data that people in the age bracket 40 to 50 are not interested in their service, the data does not explain why. All research has a cost. There is no getting around this. Quantitative data can in some cases be very expensive, dependent upon the business and the purpose of the research. Finally, Anch and his team can never really be sure the results are true. There is always a small percentage of a group of people who may tell a lie. What happens if everybody that takes your survey is in that small percentage? There is no way of knowing for sure that people have really answered honestly. Bring this video and over 100 more to life with fun, interactive games, quizzes and case studies. Why not try the first 25 completely free by visiting bizwizard.co.uk. So let's take a look at qualitative research. This is not so much about numbers as it is about people and their opinions about your business. Qualitative research is usually done by asking questions either one-on-one or to groups of people. This kind of research could help Anch and his team define problems and learn about customers' opinions, values and beliefs. Unlike quantitative, qualitative research asks long answer questions that begin with how and why. Qualitative research is about finding out not just what people think, but why they think it. It's about getting people to talk about their opinions so you can now understand their motivations and their feelings. Face-to-face interviews and group discussions are the best way to get this kind of in-depth feedback. With focus groups, you work with small samples of your target market, typically with 4 to 8 people, or you could conduct one-on-one interviews. We will look at both of these in other videos, but this kind of research will be particularly useful to You'll Never Escape, as they are developing a new service and will want to get some feedback from their customers before investing more money into the business. Here they can ask questions like, why do you think this escape room is better than others that you have tried? Or, if you don't think it is better, then why? What would you do to improve the escape room to make it more appealing to you? With qualitative answers, Anch and his team are now getting words instead of numbers. Some customers may write entire paragraphs to answer these kind of questions. So what are the advantages of conducting qualitative research? Firstly, qualitative research could be used by Anch and his team to capture changing attitudes of their customers. Meaning, if they start to notice that many customers they question were saying that the horror theme was a little old and boring, they could decide to try a different theme for their escape room. Completely the opposite of quantitative data, here the team is able to get explanations. For example, we discussed previously that Anch had noticed that most 40 to 50-year-olds were not interested in the horror experience. If they are interviewing somebody aged 45, instead of just being told no they were not interested, they can ask further questions, like why. These answers may enable Anch and his team to offer a different experience more suited to this demographic or group of people. Qualitative data will help Anch and his team explain trends. For example, if they realise that over half of the visitors to their website leave without booking any tickets, they can use qualitative research to explain this. Perhaps they may offer a small discount to any visitor leaving the website for simply filling out a simple survey with some long answer questions, like, is there anything you dislike about our website? The responses they receive may enable them to explain this trend and find a solution to the problem. By its nature, qualitative data is simply more adaptable. The person asking the questions is able to think on their feet and can adapt their questioning based on the responses that they are given. An example of this would be if Anch is asking a customer questions and he asks them, how was your experience today at You'll Never Escape? And the customer responds, it was terrible. Anch is able to think on his feet and ask a follow-up question, like, why did you find the experience terrible? If the customer responds by saying that there was something wrong with the service, Anch and his team can try to fix this problem. But if the customer says the experience was terrible because they couldn't find a parking space, Ansh and his team would know that this was not something they had control over or could change. Each of the video courses over at bizwizard.co.uk also includes an interactive business case study that applies the knowledge learnt to a real-world scenario. There are over 1,000 multiple-choice questions, each with detailed feedback, which tests students' understanding of the content. Why not visit bizwizard.co.uk to find out more? So let's think about the disadvantages of qualitative research. Firstly, qualitative can be expensive to collect. If Ansh and the team at You'll Never Escape decide to interview hundreds of people, then this will take considerable time. Their time is valuable and could be spent completing other important business operations. As asking these questions takes a long time, this also means that the sample size is likely to be small. A sample is a smaller group of people you use to represent a larger group. If the sample is too small, you may not have a fair representation of your market. For example, you may not have any older people in your sample, or any new mothers, or any gym enthusiasts. Not fairly representing each of these groups or demographics can mean your research is not necessarily applicable to you, your business, and your customers. Finally, the biggest disadvantage of qualitative research is that it is very difficult to analyse. Unlike with quantitative data, which can be easily displayed on graphs and charts, this is not the case with qualitative research. You may have hundreds of customers who have written hundreds of words in response to your questions. How are you going to be able to interpret this data en masse? Because of this, sometimes important information contained within qualitative research can be looked over. To be successful, the team at You'll Never Escape will need to use a careful mix of both qualitative and quantitative market research, since they both offer valuable information. There is no one-size-fits-all answer on getting market research right, and it will depend heavily on the type of business and exactly what insights they are hoping to find. This has been the BizWizard. See you in the next